Good evening, friends and farmers of the interwebs. How are we all? It's strange here because we've had the hour change. So it's even darker than it would normally be. So it's very odd. My computer's also having a slight meltdown. So bear with me if I can't get back to any of your questions, because I normally watch them from my computer screen, and my computer it's old and I ain't having any of it. So welcome to the live chat as always. Just a couple of things. If I miss your questions on the chat roll, just capitalize it again. I'm not ignoring you on purpose. I just probably haven't seen it. So if you capitalize it, then I will try and find it. Also, I'm not sure whether we're going to have a moderator tonight. So if we don't, and anything that I don't spot is rather naughty or abusive or anything on the chat roll, again, please just capitalize and let me know, and I will get rid of it ASAP. So I thought what we would do is just go through what I've been doing, catch you up on the videos and the work that we've been doing at the farm. And then also I've got a little parcel to show you. I'm very excited. It's the first of the flower farm plants. It arrived yesterday. So I want to show you what it is. So let's just have a little look who's here, because my chat roll, as I said, is not working. Oh, there we go. So RS Pest Control, Octopus Crime, Susie St. James, hello, all the way from Arizona, welcome. So yes, obviously we missed a video this past week because, because I couldn't be bothered. Hello, Cody. So a friend basically turned around and was like, I need to come to your farm and just chill out for the day. So that's what happened instead. So family got in the way instead. And then yesterday we did the video about feeling grateful. And that's one thing that I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit more tonight as well, is that definitely moving here and moving to the farm has made me realize how tough it is to set up a farm. I mean, of course, there are many ways to do it, and as we all know from people like Curtis Stone, that you can rent, who's rented in an urban environment, he's rented gardens out and turned them into vegetable patches. But if you actually want to go and homestead and farm, it's really quite difficult, and it's made me very aware this week that we are very lucky to have the land, because that's our kind of our little asset, and we can go and work on it, whereas some people it's just a nightmare to even get the land. So that was the video yesterday, talking about the gratitude and where to find some free stuff. Loads of you had really helpful comments about the scales and how to rejuvenate them and bring them back to life. So I'm very excited to get onto that winter project. It'll be really good fun. In terms of what's actually happening on the homestead itself, not a vast amount now, because now we're going into winter, of course. I think sunset was at 4:37 today. So obviously there's not as much time, and most of the animals are there. So although I've got a few more animals to come, they're not going to come for a few more weeks, as I also mentioned in the video, cash flow issues. So really the animals are settled, the pens are settled. We're just continuing to do that rotation. So the sheep are getting moved every 4 days, the chickens are getting moved every 2 weeks, and that's working really well. So aside from going there, feeding them, watering, there's not a vast amount to do on the kind of the animal thing. One thing I do need to do tomorrow, actually two things. Over the past couple of days, the muscovies have found their wings. So there's been a couple of muscovies on the outside of the fencing. So tomorrow I definitely need to go in and clip their wings. A couple of the lavenders have been getting out, and then compost has been flying out. So I definitely need to sort their wings out. The other thing is my Ixworth cockerels have finally reached kind of the 12-month-ish age, and they have found their aggressiveness, shall we say. So I went to the field today and I discovered poor old Skeksis had been beaten up rather severely overnight. So he's now in a cat box recovering. They haven't scalped him, but they've basically taken the skin off his entire back, which is not very nice. So I've got 3 Ixworth cockerels that are now almost 12 months old. So 2 are going to go to freezer camp, and then one is going to go and be pulled out with my female Icksworth pullet, and I'm going to separate them into like a breeding coop. So that's tomorrow's job. I need to work out which cockerel I want to keep and cross with this pullet and put them separately, and then I need to freeze camp the other two, and then hopefully with those three kind of young, I guess they're like young men who are coming into their own, with them all gone, hopefully Skeksis can then regain control of his troop, because he has been top cockerel until now, but suddenly all of a sudden they've thrown him out. So hello to all of you guys that are coming into the chat, and hello Terra's Path, hello Tails and Tires, hello Cody Brown, and we've got Susie St James here, Octopus Crime and RS Pest Control. So thank you all for coming. Cool Dude, hey, thank you for joining us tonight. So that's a kind of an update on the animals. You might have also seen that I was worried about Montague's poop problem. It's fine, it's cleared up. So it probably was just a dietary thing where he could just come and get all the food that he wanted. And he is a big boy and he is a dominant boy. So he basically pushes poor little Capulet out of the way. So Capulet probably hasn't had as much. She Who Bakes His Poor Old Skeksis. Is he an Icksworth too? No, so he's my frizzle cockerel. So the Icksworth are obviously quite large cockerels and they're coming into their own, whereas he basically is a sort of a bantam size. He's also 6 or 7. So yeah, I think they just turned on him. They decided that they wanted the girls, and so they turned on him, which wasn't very nice, but we're going to give him it back. Paul Reeves is here. Hi Jeff, Paul and Tamara. Hello guys. The feed from Somerset. So sorry to hear that the lavenders are turning out to be escape artists. We have some young ducklings if you want them. No, it's fine. I think all muscovies can be slightly escape artists. I'm not sure whether they're flying over or they're kind of pushing their way under. I would think they wouldn't be pushing their way under because it is electric fencing. But yeah, I'm just going to wing clip them and it will be absolutely fine. So in terms of work on the allotment, that was a long time ago. In terms of work on the farm, most of the stuff now over the coming months is clearing and conservation-y work and kind of getting the infrastructure ready for 2021. So if you follow Instagram stories or YouTube stories, you'll have seen that I've been updating them. I have found that actually YouTube stories and also Instagram stories is a really, really good way of keeping you guys all up to date with what's going on without having to make an entire video, because some things, you know, me just strimming a pile of nettles is not going to make a decent video, but I can at least show you what I was doing. So the past couple of days I've been strimming the bit of the lookout ready for that. When we've got some cash we can put in the fencing. I've got some of the plants, so the idea is I'm going to trim all of that out, lay down some weed control fabric just to smother the bit where I want to put in the rosemary, lavenders, roses and sage to make that kind of hedge. And then as soon as we've got the fencing in, then I can put the plants in as well. So I've been doing that. We also decided to make, just randomly, this is the problem at the farm, we get sidetracked with other things. So there was a mound. So Saad wants to extend the pheasantry, and some of the pheasants he wants to do a lot better on grass. So we thought, well, we've got the whole meadow, but we need to extend the pheasantry then out through the meadow. So we thought, oh, we'll just go through the ditch. Of course, we went through the ditch and then we found a blooming great mound. But rather than go over it, we thought we'll cut through it. So we've basically cut a path right through the center of the mound. And then we're going to plant the mound up. There's quite a lot of trees over the top. So we're going to plant the mound up with spring bulbs, aces and shade loving plants. So that actually when you walk through that path to the meadow aviaries, you're kind of at, I guess, I'm trying to think, the mound's probably to here, and so then you'll be walking through the bulbs and the flowers. They'll all kind of be at chest and face height, which I thought was actually quite nice. So we got sidetracked doing that, and then I've got the pond stuff to do as well. So I've got 2 ponds to clear out. One pond I've kind of done maybe a quarter of the clearing, so I've got both of those to do as well. And then I've been doing a little bit of woodland work here and there, putting up the sponsor posts, strimming and putting some of the straw out onto the trees just to suppress weeds and keep them nice and moist, and also to make sure that some of the poo from the sheep and stuff that's in that straw then breaks down and the goodness filters through to the tree roots underneath. Let's just see if anybody else has joined us. So it'll be really, really good. I think next year, I think the main thing is if we work really hard over the next few months with the daylight hours that we have, that then come spring, hopefully, everything will burst into life and it will go really, really well. And then we won't be playing catch up. That's the last thing I want to do as well. I'm very aware that come the new year, we've got to get the market garden going and we've got to start making money. So we need to do all the infrastructure now, which brings me on to my next point, which is the first flowers. So you all know that I love a flower, and it's one of the reasons I get distracted with landscaping at the farm, because I'm not just a farmer. I'm also a gardener. I also love pretty things, and I just want the farm to look beautifully landscaped as well, which is why it's becoming quite a difficult challenge to limit my flowers for the flower farm, because I just want to buy everything. But I really need to start off with like 10 staple plants that I can see how well they grow, and then just extend on it year and year and year, because also things that might grow really well might not sell really well. So there's no point doing like 30 things badly. I might as well just do 10 things really well and then see how they sell. So it's been really, really difficult to kind of reduce how much I'm going to grow. I want to tell you the 10 things, but they're on my phone and I'm filming on my phone and I don't know if I can remember. So I'm going to do sunflowers, Amaranthe, Dahlias. See, now I can't remember because I've been put on the spot. Larkspur, Globe Amaranth, which has a slightly different name, but I've just forgotten it. And there's another 5. I will put a list in the description of this video after we're done. I'll put a list of all the flowers I'm intending on growing. But so this brings me back to my point. COVID has made me very aware of wanting to shop not only local, but also wanting to support smaller businesses. So although I'm going to have to go to some of the big wholesalers for all of my vegetable seeds, I did want to support some of the smaller growers for my bulbs. This is the pot. So it's Farmer Gracie. So I found these online. It's Farmer Gracie, and I've ordered some beautiful, if I can find it, ranunculus. So I have grown ranunculus before, but I haven't grown them for a flower farm, so it remains to be seen. The thing that I liked about them is that I can plant them now. So although I can't plant the claws outside in the ground, I can put them into soil, and I'm going to put them into module trays, and then I can keep them in the barn or the greenhouse, and then in the spring they can go out into their final place. So I really like the packaging. Firstly, everything's cardboard. There's no plastic in here at all, which is amazing. They sent a beautiful, this is just a postcard. So that was really, really nice. They also sent a lovely little leaflet. So this is like a how we grow leaflet, which is also super, super good. And then the invoice wasn't just shoved on a piece of paper. It was actually in an envelope that says thank you. And then on the back of the invoice, they also have all this picture, which I thought was really, really nice. And it's little things like that that make you want to shop with them again. And I should also say that it wasn't that expensive. So I think I have 120 ranunculus bulbs in 4 different colours, and some other things as well. And it came to like just over £30, which I didn't think is that bad at all. So I can't really show you the ranunculus, but I've basically got 30 pink, 30 white. I will open one actually and show you the claws. 30 red. Is that red? And 30 yellow. I'm going to open one so I can show you what they look like. They're weird little bulb. They're not like a bulb. They're more like a claw. So yeah, they're weird. They're like a little claw. So you plant, this is the roots obviously, so you plant this side and then the ranunculus grows out of here. Now they are perennial, but I think like a lot of bulbs, like tulips for example, they don't do that well year on year on year. So most tulip growers will plant their tulips and then they'll dig all the bulbs up and throw them somewhere to naturalize, and then the ones they actually want to use for cut flowers, they'll bring in new ones, unlike daffodils and things which get better and better and better. But I thought 120 of those would be really, really good. I just saw a couple of questions. So I want to say hello to Andrew. Andrew's here. Susie St. James says, I think it's important to show the boring stuff as well as the new exciting stuff. Show the animal maintenance and trimming so people understand about farming. Yeah, and that is one reason yesterday why I showed that quite long montage about all the poop, because animals poo and there's a lot of stuff to move around. So yeah, I thought I would pop that in there. But actually, even though I find I said today on my stories that I find cutting brambles quite relaxing, I actually find making a muck heap go from a big muck heap to a small muck heap also very satisfying and very relaxing. So it was quite good. Terra's Pass said, where is Farmer Gracie located? So they are located in the Netherlands. So although it's not local to me, and obviously there is some air miles involved, I liked their bulbs. I liked the price, and I'm really liking how it all arrived, which is I will probably buy from them again. Look them up online. They might ship to America. I'm not sure. I guess it depends on plant passports and things and where they can send bulbs and things around the world. But you might be in luck. And also they've got a sale on at the moment, so things are a little bit cheaper. Music Phil says, hi Jeff, it's Sophie, hope your farm goes amazingly well. I had fun working with you in the summer at your old work. Oh, hello Sophie. Yes, so Sophie worked at Barleylands with us for the summer. Hello, welcome to the channel, thanks for stopping by. So this is the other thing I want to show you. So I also bought some cyclamen, because I thought cyclamen, I love how cyclamen naturalize, and I think especially in like a woodland area, they look really, really pretty. So I'm not talking about the cyclamen that you get from the shops. They have a sort of a non-hardy variety where the flowers are really, really big, and they're kind of an indoor plant. I'm talking about the more natural ones. More natural. They're both natural. The more native ones that can survive outside, and it's Cyclamen hederifolium or something like that. So I was thinking the little tubers were going to be about this big, because they normally are when you buy them in the shops. Look how big that is. It looks like a cowpat. It's huge. I mean, it is a cyclamen because here is the growing part, but it's insane. So, because I was wondering why they were so expensive. I wanted to get loads, but I couldn't afford it because I just couldn't afford it because they were too expensive. So I bought 5, and I thought, oh, that's really weird. But, you know, they'll grow and they're perennial, they grow, they multiply in any sort of woodland setting under trees and things like that. And I thought, oh, okay. And then I opened it up, and it's not that this is just a weird giant one. Like, look at the size of them. They look like wrinkly old toes that have been in the bath too long. But they are massive. So I've got 5 of these. I mean, this one's well thick. So I'm really excited to plant these and see what happens. I think I might be a little bit disappointed if I put them in and I just get 1 or 2 flowers, because, I mean, they look like potatoes, honestly. But yeah, so I'm really excited. I'm going to open the invoice and so I can tell you actually how much they were, because I can't remember. This is what I was talking about, by the way. That's the back of the invoice. Like, how pretty is that? So yeah, so those 5 cyclamen hederifolium tubers were £9.80, which is quite expensive for just 5 tubers. In comparison, the 30 bulbs of ranunculus were £4.86 per 30, which I think is quite good. But yeah, the size of these things is just mad. So I was going to put them in the pit, because in where we put the wildflower, where we put the bluebell wood, I was going to put them down there, but they're going to get lost. So I'm actually thinking that I will be filming. I did put this on Instagram, and I'll be filming it for Wednesday's video. But the pathway in that woodland that I was talking about earlier, I think I'm going to put them there, because then when you walk through the pathway again, they'll be sort of this sort of height, and you'll get to appreciate them. And then hopefully they will multiply over the years as well, and just make this beautiful pinky white spread in the, are they spring? I think they're spring flowering. So yeah, so that's good. So, but the main thing I'm excited about is these ranunculus, because they are the first flowers for the flower farm, and I can put them in soon. It's really annoying me that I can't remember the 10 things I was going to do. Sunflowers, ranunculus, dahlias, and I'm also going to try dahlias from seed. I don't know if anybody here watches Serena and Ian at You Can't Eat the Grass, but she has had massive luck with growing dahlias from seed. Now, I never even knew you could do that you could buy dahlia seeds. I thought you would just had to buy dahlia tubers. So I am going to go and research if I can buy dahlia seeds, and I want to give them a go. So sunflowers, ranunculus, dahlias. See, I've already forgotten. Larkspur, Amaranth, Globe Amaranth. Okay, that's 6. I'll put the list below. I can't remember. So Sandra Olvera says it's going to look so pretty between the aviaries. Yeah, it's going to look really, really nice. And it's kind of the only place on the farm that we can properly landscape, because most of the other farm the landscape is so vast and the pastures are so big. And because we're actual farming them, you know, there's animals and stuff out there, we can't really plant them up like you would a garden. So the around the aviaries is kind of the one place where we can sort of dabble in that kind of semi-garden, semi-native planting, because we can landscape the whole area without it detracting from the main aim, which is the aviaries. Sandra Olvera said her seed dahlias did really well. I didn't even know dahlias made seed until she... No, exactly. I knew they must come. I knew they must make seed, and I knew obviously all flowers make seed, but I didn't know whether the seed that a dahlia made, kind of from a commercial flower, not the wild part, but from a commercial one, was actually going to be fertile. So it amazed me when she started having these packets of dahlia seeds that you could grow. So I'm very excited to see whether I can do the same. And also, if you saw a few weeks ago, she was actually digging up the tubers from this year's sown, and they were huge. So yes, I'm definitely going to try that. I'm very excited. I just need to start doing some research onto where I can get those seeds. So Taylor, hi Taylor. Taylor says, how's the planning for the farmhouse going? It's not going anywhere at the moment, just because we've got an architect, we've got our architectural plans, but planning legislation in the UK is up in the air at the moment because of COVID and because of the Tories, and they like to change things all the time. So there is potential that they might be changing the planning slightly, which would make it easier for us to get planning. So we're kind of just holding back at the moment. We still need our house sale to go through. So once our house sale has gone through and we've got that money, then we can also push the planning forward. As it's turned out, we're quite happy in this little rental. Saad has enough space to do his taxidermy. It's in the middle of the little town that we've come to, the little country town. So it's actually benefited us, but we're not forgetting about it. We're just probably going to go for it in the new year, I would think. But we're just seeing how the planning goes. Andrew says, mushroom growing interests you? It does. It interests me on a personal scale, but probably not on a commercial scale, because you would have to do it in such a vast quantity that it wouldn't make, you wouldn't be able to make a lot of money from it, because you'd need like mushroom sheds, I would think. But I've never grown mushrooms, but I would like to get some of those mushroom grow kits just for myself. The other thing is, I'm not a massive mushroom fan. I used to be. And then about a decade ago, I found loads of mushrooms growing in one of my gardening clients' gardens. And I was like, these are edible. So I picked them all and I took them home and I made a beautiful pasta dish with them. And then I was really ill. So I don't know whether I just overindulged or whether I actually ate some poisonous mushrooms. But mushrooms have never been quite the same since. So yeah, and now I was very blasé, like, oh yes, these are edible mushrooms, yeah, I can eat them. And now I'm a lot more careful. So I basically don't eat any mushrooms that I picked because I don't trust myself. So yeah, be careful. Bye, Tara. Thank you for coming by. Paul Reeves says, will we see the plans? You will see the plans once it's gone through planning and planning has all been approved. I will show you exactly what we're going to do. It's going to be, we're not going for kind of a traditional build, so it's going to be quite modern, but it's also going to be in keeping with the landscape. So it's kind of a modern barn type thing. So lots of glass, but also lots of wriggly tin to kind of reference the agricultural heritage of the building. Lots of cheap materials. So we're not doing carpets and stuff. We're doing concrete floors, concrete work counters. Inside, we may literally just do plasterboard and nothing else. Yeah, but you will see the plans. I will put them online. I will do a video on them once it's all got approval. If it gets approval, of course, because we have to put the planning in and then they can knock back and they can say we can have to make changes. So we'll see where we are. We've already had to change quite a few things. We wanted solar panels on the roof, but with a barn conversion, you have to keep the exact same elevation and shape of the current barn, which means we cannot put solar panels on the roof, which is a bit of a pain because they will then extend too high, so then it's not a barn conversion. We wanted to have a wood burner so we could grow our own fuel. Again, you're not allowed those in Class Q conversions. Class Q is a barn conversion. So that's a bit annoying. So we're looking at maybe some more green efficient ways, ground source heat pump, that sort of thing. But I was hoping that we could have grown a lot of our own fuel, but we can't because we're not allowed a wood burner. So we'll see. There are lots of different weird legislations and things to go through. But yes, I will. That's a long-winded answer to your question. But yes, I will share the plans. Makola says, hi, it's Aisha. My baby quail are doing so well. Feathers are coming through. Thanks again for the inspiration. How is your pond doing? Was it last year you were cleaning it out? The pond project has been going on for a long time. So I think 2 years ago I first started, or 2 or 3 years ago. I think 3 years ago, almost this season, we started clearing it. And then 2 years ago we got the that's right. 2 years ago we got the first lot of frog spawn that didn't survive because the water was too stagnant. Last year we continued to do more clearing and we put I bought some pond plants with the money from Patreon and got those in, and the water quality improved, and we had frog spawn again this spring, so 2 years ago. So we had frog spawn this spring, and that survived because I went up at the end of lockdown in the UK. I went up to the pond and there were lots of little baby tadpoles wriggling around, which was great. And then I've continued to do it. So I've probably got about maybe a third of the way around clearing now. As always, as soon as I start cutting back, I realize that the boundaries of the pond are a lot bigger than I originally thought. So I keep hacking it back. There's lots of brambles. My hands are literally, you probably can't see, but my hands are like covered in bramble marks where I get and scratches and things. But yeah, I'm hacking away at it, and hopefully we'll get a lot more rain. I mean, I really shouldn't say that as a farmer because my farm's going to turn to mud. But we do need more rain to fill up the pond, and I'm hoping that next year, now we'll be here all the time, I can keep on top of it a lot more in terms of stringing stuff down. But also we'll get loads more tadpoles, and it will just show that it's improving. Nature is amazing, and I'm really incredibly thankful that just one season of clearing it went from dead frog spawn because it's too stagnant to a little mass of tadpoles. So I'm hoping we can just build on that. Tails and Tails says, has your IB filled up yet? No, I put it in, the heavens opened for about 5 minutes and it hasn't bloody rained. With the amount of rain in Perthshire, I'm sure I could have filled 3 this week. Oh, can you send some my way, please? Because it keeps being overcast and then it keeps spitting, but it's hardly rained at all. So I've got the 2 water butts, I've got the IBC, and they're almost all empty. So we're almost in November, and I'm going to get back to the stage of having to fill bottles of water at home to take to the farm to give to all the animals. So I think I've only got a third of a water butt full now, which doesn't go very far where you need a bucket for the sheep inside, a bucket for the goats inside, bucket for the sheep outside, all the rabbits and the chickens inside, and then the duck pond as well. So I need some rain badly. But then, of course, when it does rain, it is going to rain in the day, isn't it? And I won't be able to do any work, which is really annoying. Taylor says, would you try to build the house in a sustainable way because concrete emits a lot of CO2 during the making it process? Yeah, so this is with the house, this is our conundrum. It's like, unfortunately, a lot of sustainable stuff is really expensive. So we've got to do a very fine balancing act between building it as sustainably as possible, but being able to actually afford it so that we can go and live a sustainable life. So it's really frustrating, because in an ideal world, we would just go and build it completely sustainable with the most sustainable products possible to keep the carbon footprint down, and then just farm in a sustainable way. But unfortunately, cheap stuff is the bad stuff. So I don't want to buy loads of cheap stuff, but we probably will end up having to buy some of it in and then just try and offset that carbon by all the conservation and planting and stuff we're doing, which is kind of annoying. But again, it falls down to planning and what they'll allow as well, because again, planning restrictions are stupid because they don't care about the climate. So they just push certain things on you, which you don't necessarily want to do. So yeah, we will see, but we're going to try and do it as sustainable we're going to try and do it with sustainability in mind. And then if we have to buy certain building materials, we will try and then offset that by putting more trees in or things like that. Steve Roberts is here. Hi, Steve. Cody's here. Kirill is here, and Taylor says, I don't know the cost comparison, but look into hempcrete. I will do, definitely. So Cody says, just wondering, with your chicken flock, do you mix breeds? Yes, I do mix breeds, but then when it comes to hatching the eggs, unless it's for me, I don't care. You know, if I'm hatching eggs just for random meat birds, I don't care. I'll just let them all cross. But if I'm hatching eggs to sell as hatching eggs or to raise up chicks, then I will split the parents off. So the Danvers are in a separate coop at the moment. The Silkies are in a separate coop at the moment. And then I was saying at the beginning of the video, I'm going to pull the Ixworth out. My Ixworth pullet is just about to come into lay. So I'm going to pull her out, so she'll be in a separate coop as well. So they all mix when it's not the breeding season, and then I'll have to separate them when it is. So next spring, for example, I'll have to split all the ducks up as well, because I've got the khaki Campbells, the Muscovies, and the silver Appleyards all in together. I definitely want to make sure that the silver Appleyards are only breeding with silver Appleyards, because they're a rare breed. And also that's kind of a money maker to sell the hatching eggs. So I need to make sure they're separate. The khaki Campbells, I haven't yet got a Drake. So I will be getting a Drake hopefully at some point. I'm on the lookout. And then the Muscovies, God knows how many Drakes I've got, because I haven't been able to sex the damn things. But again, I'll probably take the khakis out, and I'll probably take the silver Appleyards out and leave the Muscovies in, because I've got more Muscovies. Kirill says, I have quail, jumbo quails, and they're 2 months and they lay 8 eggs a day, sometimes more. That's cool. I love quail, and they are really, really productive little birds. And this is going to sound grim now, but I've just said they're really, really cute, and now I'm talking about killing them. But if you kill hens, when you open them up and they're overducked, there are so many eggs. I was shocked. Like, obviously, females of most species are born with the number of eggs in their ovaries that they're going to make. They don't make new eggs, they're already in there. But when I opened up, I had to cull some quail. I had to cull some young quail to eat, and then I had to cull a couple of older quail, and I wanted to just do a little bit of a PM and find out what had happened. And literally there was one formed egg right at the end, and then probably in her oviduct there was probably like another 3 or 4 eggs ready to come out. And it was quite amazing how this process of the eggs goes through the oviduct. But they're great little birds, and they really are productive, so I'm glad they're laying for you. Mine have completely stopped now. The daylight hours have minimized, and they've just gone into shutdown mode, which is fine. You know, they can just sit there all winter. I don't mind. And then we'll get productive again in the spring. And hopefully by the spring, I'll have an outdoor quail coop for them to go in. So I really want to make them a more natural habitat with kind of longer grasses and plants, so that they can forage around a lot for a lot of insects, rather than kind of than in the hutch that they're in currently. I also want the hutches free for obviously rabbit kits. So yeah, that's another winter project. Sandra says, yeah, money is sustainability's biggest enemy. It really is. People, you know, the people that make all the big money don't care about sustainability at all. Yeah, it's awful. Lou says, hello, do you think quail eggs would survive shipping from Germany or to Germany? And you live in Sweden. Cool. I love Sweden. I'm not sure, because even within the UK, when I've sent quail eggs, when I've sent chicken eggs, they just about manage, but they don't have a great hatch rate because they do get pretty scrambled. I would think possibly the length of time that it takes to ship abroad and the amount they're going to be throwing around might mean that they just don't make it. However, I'm not saying they wouldn't. So, you know, is it quail you want? Yes, so if you want quail eggs, you could always buy like 36 quail eggs, and you might get 10, 15 hatch, you know, which is kind of a 30 to 50% ratio, which isn't too bad considering they've been sent through the post across countries. So you could try. Cody says, another question, with chickens, do you eat fertilized eggs? Yes, because all are fertilized. If you've got a cockerel running with your chickens, all the eggs are going to be fertilized. But they won't start to develop unless they're sat on. So as long as you collect the eggs every day, your eggs are the fertilized eggs, they're never going to develop. They're never going to turn into an embryo unless they're actually broodied. So yeah, obviously I have cockerels running with my hens, which means most, if not all, of the eggs are fertile. Tails and Tires said, do you ferment your chicken duck feed? I do. They were on layers pellets for quite a long time, and now we're here and we're a bit settled. I've started to buy some grain again, so I'm fermenting the grain and giving them the layers pellets. I do have a video on this channel about fermenting and the process. I find it actually works out quite a lot cheaper, because on the whole they love the fermented grain so much they eat less layers pellets, and the layer pellets are obviously the more expensive feed. Yeah, so I do, and they love it, and it's super easy to do as well, and actually really, really quick. You know, from putting the grain in water and leaving it in warm weather, it can take just 2 days. In this kind of weather now, we're going into autumn, winter, 3-4 days, and then as long as you do it on a conveyor belt, you've always got fresh fermented food coming through. Steve Roberts says, you getting any pigs? Yes. I have 2 weaners that I bought in. They are saddleback cross micro pigs. Just bought them for a laugh and to see what they'll turn into. Hope they'll be ready by Christmas. They're getting fairly big and meaty. Cool. That's cool. Yeah, I am getting pigs. I cannot wait. So we are, obviously we're doing rare breeds. So we're doing large blacks. I've already sussed out a couple of potential breeders. I'm going to get 2 gilts. I already know what I'm going to call them, but I'm not going to tell you guys until I've got them, because I want it to be a surprise. I think it's going to be really, really funny when I go and call their names out. They're going to be living in the pit. So when I get them in as gilts, I'm going to train them just on some pasture I'm going to train them to electric fencing. Once they're trained to electric fencing, they're going to go into the pit, because there is so much room in the pit for them just to snaffle. You know, there's gorse, there's brambles, there's bracken, there's nettles, there's loads and loads of room. And the nice thing about our pit is that on one side, it's a pit, but then it levels off to the road. So that means I can put them in this side and keep them kind of contained. But when they get massive and I need to sort of take them out, I can get a trailer in still. Obviously, the initial 2 gilts are not going to be going anywhere. They're going to be my breeding sows. I want to do my bit for rare breeds, so I'm going to be keeping them and breeding them. But obviously, the resulting piglets will have to go off. But yes, piggies. Hopefully, spring. This coming spring, 2021. Fingers crossed. We'll see what happens. But that's the kind of idea in my head. But then you don't know what's going to happen because this entire year has been a write-off. So Zlu asks, how many do you think would hatch out of 24 eggs? So it's how much, yeah, how many quail do I think will hatch out of 24 eggs? If you're shipping from Germany to Sweden, I mean, you might get, I would say 24 eggs, 7 to 12 maybe. So, I mean, it also depends on the fertility in the first place. It depends where they were bought. It depends how good the incubator is. So there's so many different various factors. You might, you know, British shipping is terrible. Things get thrown around all over the place. You may have a courier from Germany to Sweden that actually reads and it's like, oh, fragile eggs. Okay, I'm going to be careful. And they actually read it, unlike the people over here that are just like, oh, fragile, throw it on the floor. So you might be luckier and you might actually have more hatch than that. But I would say if you want to do it, just go for it and let us know how many do hatch, because I'd be quite interested to know. Taylor Ford says, if I wanted to start learning about permaculture, what book would you recommend to get me learning? You've put me on the spot. I don't know, is my honest answer, because although I do permaculture, everything I know from permaculture is not from reading. It's from picking it up and experience and watching and talking to other people. There's some really good YouTube channels. Richard Perkins is amazing. He has actually just brought out a book, and I have got that book on order. It's coming, and I highly recommend. I've seen what's kind of going to be in it, and I've heard from other people. I highly recommend his book. But I'm not probably the best person to advise permaculture books, because although we kind of practice it, we kind of practice it as skewed to what we want it to be. And when I say that, I mean I use kind of a complex matrix of different methods. So I can't say that my farm is just permaculture, because I also use other methods. Regenerative agriculture, I guess, is part of permaculture, but again, like all subjects, you have the permaculture purists, and then you have people that kind of take little bits that they want to use, and that's me. Ninja's here. Good evening. Hello. Thanks for stopping in. So wow, I've actually got to the end of all the questions, which is good. So has anybody got any questions or topics they want to talk about? I'm gonna have a slip of my tea. I've got my same cup as last week, which is my sheep cup. I need to find a sheep cup with Norfolk horns on it. Actually, are there Wiltshire horns on here? I don't think there are. No, so the 2 sheep I'm going to keep, which are Norfolk horns and Wiltshire horns, don't factor on this mug, so I'm going to have to get one that has them on. Steve says, is your farm lowland? Yeah, it pretty much is. It's East Anglia. So yeah, it's as far from hilly as you can get. It's flat as a pancake. It's when the sea level rises, it's gone, basically. So it's pretty, you know, and East Anglia is one of the, it's kind of the, what do they call it? The basket of England, or I'm sure they call it the basket of England or something, because it's agriculturally that it's really rich. Although I say it's really rich, and not rich in wealth. I mean, rich in terms of soil quality. It certainly used to be, but again, like all farming and intensive farming and ploughing, the soil has been eroded. So I'm sure here, like many other places, the soil is in a pretty dire state, but it still might be way better than other places in the country. Caroline says, hey, hi, Caroline. Oh, Caroline, sorry. Have you been following for years now? Is there something like a PO box that you have where I could send you something? We don't have a PO box yet. I do need to set one up actually. If you pop me a message, just email me at Jeff at, is it Jeff at Brimwood Farm? Hang on. I don't even know my own email. Yeah, it's Jeff at brimwoodfarm.com. But if you just pop me a message and we can chat and I can tell you the address, it's not a problem. But yeah, I do need to set up a PO box. Andrew said, what's in the new run? Nothing as yet. I think we're going to have a pair of golden pheasants going in there. Again, they were supposed to come now, but we've run out of money. So they're being held for us. So hopefully they're going to come. Well, they're coming from Allendu. So hopefully they'll be coming in next month or the month after. But yeah, we're going to put the pheasants in there until we've sold the 2 reeves, and then the golden pheasants will move into the reeves with the budgies, and we'll just have that as a spare aviary for now. Sophie says, there may not be any farm festivals going on at the moment, but have you ever been to one, ever wanted to go to one? They look fun. I haven't. I've never been to one. There's one really near us, Latitude. That's really near us. And then there's another one called Bungie Balls Up, which is kind of more of a, it's like a chilled out circus type of festival, I think, where, you know, you go and you juggle and I don't know, you go and you juggle maybe. My friend goes religiously every single year. I'm going to have to pump him for some more information. But yeah, I've never been to one. But they are, I think they're quite good fun. I'm not really a festively person. I'm not really a crowd person. I really don't, you know, if I've gone to a festival in my time, I'm not at the music stage at all. I'm way off in some little music tent that's only got about 5 people on, and I'm sat on a bale of hay with, you know, a massive jug of cider or something, chilling out. Being in a mad crowd right in front of a music stage is like one of my worst fears. So yeah, but a farm festival probably sounds quite good fun. Susie St. James says, does your Christmas cacti have buds on it yet? No, it doesn't. I'm really perturbed. I'm hoping they will start to develop soon. It got a few, as you can see here. It got a few just before we moved, and then they frazzled away, which was very, very annoying. The little tiny plant, I still have some little tiny plants. Some of you, if you've been watching the channel for a while, will know that I actually try to propagate and do a cross between my white one and my pink one, which is up there. I do have some tiny, tiny plants, but they take about 3 years to get to maturity, so it's going to be a while. But I'm hoping that it's settled and it can get used to the humidity of this room and the water. It will be fine. I mean, it is you can see this is new growth here, so they are starting to kind of settle in a bit, but they don't really like, I find with all plants, they don't really like to move. If you put them in a room, they'll climatize it to it, but if you move them around too much, they kind of have a little bit of a heart attack, I guess, like me when I'm moving around. But hopefully they will get buds on them soon, because it's not Christmas without buds on the Christmas cacti. Just scrolling up, sorry guys. So Sandra Olvera says, what does Saad do for a living? Is taxidermy his job or his hobby? So, well, technically neither of us have a living now. So Saad used to work at London City Airport, and he quit his job, as I did, to come up here. So he is now registered self-employed with the aim of making taxidermy his full-time business. Like all businesses, it's going to be a slow burn. So the majority of the income is going to be from the farm, while Saad's kind of sets up his inventory, gets some more clients, does a couple of exhibitions, and kind of gets money in that way. Because although you can taxidermy lots of animals and just sell them on like Etsy and eBay and things, that's not the way that most taxidermists make their money. Most of them make it on bespoke art that they're asked to do by clients. So he's got to network and build that client base. But yeah, that's what he is aiming to do for a living. And he'll do it because he's actually proving to be really, really good at taxidermy. It's just like all things, setting up a business is slow. let me just look. Ted, hi Ted, thank you for joining us. He says, hello, do you have any fig trees on your farm? We don't as yet. I really want to put some in. I guess the problem is I wanted to put all my fruit trees. So I've got my nut trees where I'm going to have the nut orchard. I wanted to put my fruit trees right near the house. So my idea with the fruit trees is that I want to have, because when you go in our drive, our field is right in front of you. And my idea is I would love to put a big gabion wall along. So actually when you pull into our drive, you can't see the vista. You have to come into their house, come around the corner, and then that's when you see the landscape from the double height windows. So my thinking is I would love to have espalier, fruit trees and figs and things along the gabion wall. And actually the way the sun comes around, that would be the perfect aspect for them as well. The problem is, annoyingly, I can't put them in until we have the gabion wall. So I think I'm going to start I have started collecting actually. I was given an apple tree as a leaving gift from my old job. So I'm going to start collecting more fruit trees and I'm going to just have them in big pots for now. And I can start to train them out in fans and espaliers. And then when we eventually get that gabion wall, hopefully, then I can put them against it. Caroline says, I'm from Netherlands. I was thinking of sending you some beautiful tulip bulbs. That would be absolutely lovely, Carolyn. I would absolutely love that. And even nicer because it's kind of a gift from your native country to our country. So that would be really, really lovely. So yeah, please do get in contact. It would be really nice. And then actually I could put them in now and then we could show them next year when they're coming up, which would be great. So that would be lovely. Tails and Tyler said, any problem with your husband's falconry and your chicken duck keeping ever crop up? E.g. Mr. or Mrs. Hawk get too close to the hens. So far, Raja is still on the cranes and the perch. So he was a rescue Harris Hawk. He was found in, I think he was found in Basildon. He was picked up by our friends, and then our friends had him, and he was in a terrible condition, so they molted him out. So he had to be... Forgive me if I say any of this wrong, by the way, because I am no falconer. I just know the history. I don't really know anything about it. But as I understand, he was put into a molt aviary for 6 months, I think, to shed all of his old feathers, regrow all of his new feathers. And then he wasn't put on the hand, which is basically being held on the glove, because they were going to rehome him. And they wanted whoever rehomed him to train him. So he got used to the one-to-one contact. So, long story short, Saad has only just begun working with him. So he jumps onto the glove really, really well. He now starts to hop off his perch onto the glove really well. And Saad is just starting Creans training with him, which is where instead of just being on the tether, he's attached to a line and then he can fly all the way across, but he can't just fly into a tree. Once as I understand it, once he's done the Creans training with him, he's got the GPS stuff, then he can start to fly him around properly at the farm. So far we haven't had any issues because they haven't actually come into contact with each other, other than just being Raja just being walked around the fields on the glove. Hopefully it won't be too problematic. We have got buzzards, and so far I've got some very small bantams. So far the buzzards have not strayed into chicken territory, but then we're summer. And we were, it was summer and early autumn, so food was plentiful. So it remains to be seen whether it stays that way during the winter when food is scarcer. I think the buzzards raised 2 chicks this year because there are 4 of them around, which means there's going to be even more demand for food. So I will have to keep an eye on the chicken run because some of those smaller bantams would be easily eaten by a buzzard. Music Fox. So Sophie says, is there a taxidermy website, Instagram? There are loads and loads. I did not know. Again, taxidermy is Saad's thing. I'm not massively into it. I can appreciate a nice taxidermy piece, but I haven't really got into it. And it wasn't until Saad started to do it that I realized the intricacies of the art that is required to do it. Because
do you want to talk about it?
If you want. Well, what are you going to talk about?
Special guest.
So here, Saad can answer your question. So the question was from Sophie, and it said,
"Oh my god, I look awful. I look like a caveman."
He is a caveman. So
Okay,
we moved here and we've stopped shaving, we've stopped cutting our hair.
I'm just gonna put my hood up.
So the question was from Sophie, and she said, "Is there a taxidermy website or Instagram?"
To learn.
I don't know. Sophie, is that to learn or just to look at? Oh, do you have one yourself?
Yes, I do. It's called the.neophron.collection. So nephron is a Latin name for the Egyptian vulture. So it's NEOPHRON, the Nephron collection. So if you Instagram it, you can find my work there.
I'll put the link below.
Yeah, and the way I took on the art of it all is to obviously you need to train under a taxidermist, a licensed taxidermist. So I did a course with a senior taxidermist for about a year, and then learned all the trades from him and all the bits and grit and all that stuff. So, and then this year I was doing it on my own. So yeah, it's still a learning curve. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot of different facets. Obviously, I specialize with birds, but you can do mammals, you can do fish, you can do insects. There's so much loads of stuff you can do.
But guys, it takes ages.
Yeah. So it's a huge process. It's a huge process.
I did not realize how long something takes to taxidermy. It's insane.
Yeah. What else can I say?
Well, yeah, so basically Saad has to skin it, which takes ages, and then has to take all the fat off the skin, and then the carcass he has to measure, and then has to put the skin back into the fridge or the freezer while he makes an exact replica of the body form carcass out of wool. No.
Yeah, you can do wood wool, you can do balsa wood, any kind of material that's not going to disintegrate. It's a non-biological material that's going to keep the form. So you can do it with foam, wood wool, binding body, carve out with a balsa wood or anything like that. Yeah.
And then he has to go in and put all these metal bars in for the measurements for the legs and the neck and the wings. And then when he's actually managed to get the skin back on, he has to go through and basically preen every single feather on that damn bird's body into the right place.
Yeah, so it's a long process. So from start to finish, when you start skinning the specimen to mounting it and then feathering and grooming it, it takes about, literally, for me as an amateur, because I'm still learning, it takes me a good 2-3 days. Of full day's work. So it is quite a long process, and depends obviously from the type of bird, if it's a small bird, medium bird, large bird, and how difficult the birds can be. Sometimes they have long necks, sometimes they have more fatty on them. So it really varies from different birds to different mammals to different species.
I'll wake up at like 6 a.m. in the morning or 7 a.m. and I'll walk across to Saad's study because he's not in bed, and he'll be like this, still doing the preening. I'm like, oh my god.
I think everybody's just gone off of taxidermy now.
They have. So
they're going back to farm.
That's fine.
That's my cue to leave.
Okay. Bye. So yeah, back to farming. Miss Famicom says, would it be okay to put eggs in the hatching machine now, or best to wait into spring? You can put them in now. The only reason I stopped hatching chicks from now through winter is because they need heat once they've hatched, and having them in the house, it gets so dusty and so messy, and I couldn't handle it anymore. So I tend now to only hatch in spring, because then you can move them outside a lot quicker. If you have like a shed or a garage or something that's got electricity in, where you can keep your chicks warm, just do it now if you want. I just didn't have anywhere like that, and I don't have anywhere in the rental house, so I won't be hatching till spring, just for that reason. But there's no reason to not do it now. The only thing you might find is fertility. So fertility in the autumn, fertility kind of from midsummer onwards drops significantly. It's highest in the spring, but again, just put more eggs in, and then it'll be sod's law that they'll all hatch, which has happened to me several times. But yeah, fertility might be lower, but there's no reason not to hatch now. It's just kind of more of a husbandry thing in terms of looking after them and making sure they've got enough heat through the winter. So Tails and Ties says, what's the most fave thing to do on the farm? Or if you struggle to name one, give me top 3. Top 3 fave things to do. At the moment, one of my top things, which is going to sound really boring, is moving electric fencing, because I have wanted to pasture rotate for so many years, and now I can do it. It is blimming amazing. The amount, the speed at which the ground regenerates just blows my mind still. So that's really one of my favorite things to do, is to move the chickens and the sheep onto a new patch and then watch the ground recovering over the next few days. So I love doing that. Planning, I love planning in terms of new projects and things. And I actually really love clearing. Again, I put this on my YouTube on the stories today. I actually really enjoy bramble clearing because I find it really, really calming. I don't like to use machinery because then you get that loud whirring and it spoils nature and the countryside. So it's just me, my sucketeers, snipping through brambles, listening to the birds, looking and seeing nature around me. So I find that really, really nice as well. I mean, it's slow and it's painful sometimes because you think, bloody hell, I'm not going to get through this. But yeah, they're probably my three favourite things at the moment. So planning, bramble cutting, bizarrely, and moving electric fencing. Again, boring, but kind of fun. Mrs. B says, have you got any tips on keeping rats down? No, I haven't. And if somebody has, please tell me, because I have got rats and I've seen the damn things. I saw somebody on Facebook the other day using their ferret to kill them, but then I started researching and actually rats can kill a ferret quite easily. So I decided not to do that. The only thing I've really heard is basically a no-brainer is getting a Jack Russell Terrier and using them as a ratter. I don't like to use poison. I'm going to try trapping, but I know if anybody knows of any really, really good ways to get rid of rats, then let us know. Because the problem with rats is they're really intelligent as well. So there's a specific word for it, but I can't remember what it is. But it basically means that they are very wary of new things. So if you put a trap down, you can expect not to catch any rat in it for at least a week or two because they literally won't go near it. So it can be quite difficult to even trap them. Green Raven says, wow, I wasn't sure Saad was real. He is. He's not an imaginary husband. This is the first time I've seen him. That's okay. Well, he's disappeared now. Liz is here. Hi, Liz. I didn't tell you it was actually happening. So really, it's not your fault for being late because I didn't bother to actually say. I didn't want to disrupt your Sunday. So I just sort of said at the beginning of the video, if we have a moderator, Liz will be here. But so far I don't think we've needed anybody banned or thrown out, which is quite good. And as always, my tea is almost stone cold because I've been rambling on. So I'm not sure entirely what my plan is for this coming week. I might try and get these ranunculus in, and I might try and clear the ground on the flower farm. If you saw my Instagram, I got a massive heap of brash and cut twigs and logs, and I was going to pull it all out into the field and burn it, which I know is a really bad thing to do. And so I started heaping it up. And then I realized that actually there were tons of birds, wrens, blue tits, field sparrows, robins, all going in and out of these branches. And then I realized, why am I pulling it out to make a bonfire when I should just create this sort of dead wood hedge all the way down the market garden? It doesn't look particularly nice, I grant you, but it should be amazing for wildlife. I've already seen all the birds and stuff in there. Hopefully it'll become kind of a quite moist place on the ground for toads, snakes, frogs and stuff to live. There'll be millions of bacteria and microbes in there as well, rotting all that wood down. So a lot of the brash that's currently on the flower patch, I need to pull out and I need to put it along the edge of the market garden. So that's one thing I need to do so I can clear that land and get that ready for planting. But again, as I said, these for those of you that weren't here earlier, I've got 120 of these ranunculus bulbs, but I'm going to put them in trays, in modular trays to get them going, keep them out of the frost over the winter. So they can be planted now just to give them a head start, but they'll be planted out of the frost in the barn. On nice days, I'll bring them out so they get a little bit of sun. and then I'll pop them into the ground next year. So that's one thing I must do this week. Susie St. James says, I don't understand cutting back the brambles now. Why not let the winter kill them off and start fresh in spring? Because the winter over here does not kill the brambles. They drop all their leaves, of course, but it doesn't kill the actual bramble stem. So the bramble stems are still there. They're still spiky. And in fact, I actually find them worse when they're kind of half dead. When they're alive, they're a bit more flexible. They're not quite as sharp and thorny, and I can kind of cut through them more easily. So what I tend to do is I tend to, basically over the years and years, you've got your bramble patch, all the alive stuff is on the top, and all dead stuff underneath. So I tend to kind of get into a bramble patch, cut through the live stuff and pull it out, and then the dead stuff underneath is so brittle that if you take a rake to it, you can just bash it and most of it falls to the ground. I'm going to get the goats up to help me tomorrow. But yeah, our winters won't kill the bramble, and they won't, it's not like it would die and then fall to the ground and just to be raked out. It wouldn't work. You'd then just have a big thorny dead bramble patch. I'd still have to cut back. So at a time when I can't really grow anything, I might as well do that. Oh, I've done something on the farm. You can't really see it. Or you can't see it at all. Oh, you can see it a little bit here. I've got a really bad rash. I don't know whether it's hay or what. I've got some steroid cream that I've been putting on it, but it's not really been working very well. Hello, Julie. She says, I've not completely missed your live stream. I'm very late to the party doing bedtime stories. Well, to be honest, bedtime stories should take precedent over a live stream. Yeah, they're much more important. So I'm glad you could make it. If you've got any questions, please throw them in, because we have been going for an hour now, and I'll probably, because obviously of the hour change, although it's 8:30, it still feels like it's about 9:30. So I might call it a day soon, especially as tomorrow I need to get out there early because I need to get the goats up to that bramble patch. I need to start doing this ranunculus. I've got a friend coming over with tons of cardboard for the market garden. I've got to clip those duck wings. I've got to sort out those chickens. I've probably got to dress those 2 chickens as well. So I've got quite a lot to do. Liz says, if you could grow any flower en masse in your flower garden, what would it be? Just one. Liz, that's not very fair. Probably something like, oh, I've forgotten the name of it. What am I like? It's a perennial echinacea. I would probably grow echinacea because it comes in tons of different colors. It's perennial. You can cut it. The flowers are so cheery. I can just imagine an entire bed of echinacea in pinks and yellows and greens. And you don't even have to do anything with it. It's not like dahlias where you've got to lift tubers and dry them. It's not like annuals where you've got to plant them every year. They literally, once they're established, look after themselves. So I think, yeah, I think it would be echinacea. Susie says, steroid cream, try antihistamine. I did try antihistamine and it didn't work at all. So I went to the pharmacy and I asked the pharmacist and he gave me this steroid cream. It takes the itching away. It just hasn't taken the rash away. But I wonder whether the rash isn't going away because I just keep touching hay every day and making it worse. Although I've touched hay for years and it's never got me. So I don't know, maybe it was something else. It'll be fine. There's all sorts wrong with me. It's fine. It's fine. And Sophie says marigolds for her favourite flower. Now, I do see that as well because I have seen some absolutely beautiful gardens, especially market gardens and vegetable gardens that are bordered with marigolds, and they look stunning. And then not only that, you can pick all those calendula flowers and you can make them into things, which is even more cool. So that is a very good, so actually echinacea possibly for perennial, but actually marigolds would become close for your annual. And in fact, in our climate, if we don't have a cold winter, I've had marigolds become sort of short-lived perennials and last for a couple of years as well. They are pretty stunning. So yeah, Sophie, that's a good choice. The other thing I wanted to ask you actually while I'm here, so like in October, obviously, I started a new video at the end of each month, and I called it Farm Views, and it was called like Farm October Farm. So I'm going to do it once a month, but I called it sort of sights and sounds from the farm, no commentary, no talking, etc. So I'm going to do it again in November, but I was wondering whether you prefer it without the music, because a couple of people said actually they would prefer it and find it more relaxing if it was just not sped up, so more edited to specific things. So it's shorter segments, but no music and just normal pace, so they could actually hear what was going on. So let me know your thoughts on that as well, because I've kind of made a November copy without any music, and I actually quite like it. So I might just try it and see if you guys like it, and then we can pick whether you prefer the music one or the non-music one. Yeah, I think Liz says it'll be super relaxing. I think there's kind of this thing in my mind that, oh, I should put music on things, but actually, if you're watching a relaxing video of farm views, do you want a man-made human track on the back of it? Probably not. You just want to hear tweeting birds and sheep barring and things. So I'm going to try it without. And Julie says you could have music for intro and outro. Actually, that's a really good idea. So start off with a little bit, then have the main video and then the outro. That's a really good idea. Thank you. Guys, I'm going to call it a night, I think, because it's 10 past, or it's 11 past. No, it's not. What am I talking about? I've been going for an hour and 11 minutes, and you can see my brain is addled because I don't know what I'm talking about. So if there's any questions, quickly fire them at me. If not, I'm going to say good night. Susie says, yes, do both videos and let us choose. I will. I'll have a go. Cody, thank you for coming by, everybody. I really appreciate it. I hope you've had or having a good Sunday night. I've definitely had a nice chilled Sunday night with you guys. We will try and make this a weekly thing now, just so I can update you guys and we can just have a catch up, because now I live in the middle of nowhere and I don't really see anybody else. I just see you on a Sunday, which is great. So I'm going to say goodbye. Have a fantastic evening. Thank you for everybody that came, even if you came for the last few minutes. I really appreciate it. See you again very soon. Bye.